But the most casualties were at a concert hall not far from where that restaurant was. A concert had just begun there by the American band Eagles of Death Metal when gunshots rang out. A huge venue with a capacity of 1,500 people, obviously on a crowded Friday night. They had just sung 6 songs when they heard automatic gunfire and the chaos began. It was a festive Friday night in Paris, and the American rock group Eagles of Death Metal were on stage playing at the Bataclan, a theater and concert hall dating back to 1865. Hundreds of fans had gathered when suddenly 3 or 4 gunmen reportedly carrying Kalashnikov rifles stormed in and started shooting into the crowd. The drummer later told his brother what they saw from the stage.
He said they were playing about 6 songs into the show. They heard automatic machine gun fire. It was so loud, it was louder than the band, and they all kind of hit the stage floor. They saw men with machine guns just kind of shooting at anything and everything. There was a door, I guess, back of the stage that led to a street, and they flew out the back door.
Witnesses reported that the shooting and slaughter continued for 10 minutes, some escaping as the killers stopped to reload. One witness claimed the gunman shouted, "Syria." Ginny Watson somehow found her way out.
Then the shots kept continuing, they kept going on, and then I saw people starting to panic. People were running away, and I could see from where I was, from the balcony, downstairs where the shots had come from, because I couldn't see anything, I just heard the shots. People were running away, and then all of a sudden people on the balcony where I was sitting started getting up and panicking, and that's when I ducked. I went behind the seats, and the friend I was with, I took her hand and we kind of made our way to an exit.
While many audience members escaped amidst the horror and chaos, others were trapped behind, held hostage.
At the time that they start killing individuals, and you know that they're killing individuals, you must go in.
FBI hostage negotiator Aaron Sanchez.
You are thinking of how many lives could I possibly save by entering, and how many more lives will be threatened.
Just after midnight, French special forces assaulted the theater, overpowered and killed the gunman in a burst of gunfire and explosions, but not before at least 100 members of that audience were killed. 4 of the gunmen were found dead in the theater, 3 by activating their suicide belts. Obviously, we know 3 of those terrorists were prepared to die, at least 3 prepared to die for their attacks tonight. People who were on the scene after they managed to get in and storm that scene called it a bloodbath. It looked like a war zone. In this case, the decision to go in, they were sure these terrorists meant to kill inside. It was a matter of, we've got to go in now, even though people will die, and save as many as we can.
And you and I have reported many times on these situations, and often it's a real struggle with whether or not you go in or not based on the fact that people could lose their lives in the efforts to save them. We want to bring in Ginny Watson, who was just in your report there, Elizabeth, inside the concert hall. And Ginny, first of all, we're glad you're okay. And can you describe the aftermath inside that concert hall?
All I can say is that I was there when it started. I was actually there for the concert because the Eagles of Death Metal are a band I really like, and I was there with a friend. And we were in the middle of the concert, and all of a sudden, this huge shootout started, and it was a quite a high-pitched shootout. Myself, never being in a shootout in my life, I actually thought it was a joke. I thought the band was like playing a joke on us, and I didn't believe it at first. But then I saw people screaming, and I was on the first floor of the venue. I wasn't down on, at the bottom. So I heard all the shots, and they were consistent. There were a lot of shots, and they didn't stop. And that's when I realized maybe we have to leave. And with my friend, I took her hand, and we ducked, we hid behind the seats, and we managed to, slip away through the safety exit that was near to where we were. There was a panic, but we managed to escape in the street. But there were people harmed, people were wounded, there was blood, and people had bullet wounds in their legs. It was It wasn't nice.
We heard one eyewitness who was also in that theater with you, in that stadium, in that concert hall with you, describe how the gunmen were going down and executing people one by one. Did you see anything like that?
No, what's really crazy, and that's what's really keeping me awake right now, because it's like it's 4 o'clock in the morning here in Paris, and I can't sleep because I feel so strange, because the weirdest thing is I didn't like panic. I just heard. I didn't see the people. I just heard these consistent gunshots, which were Kalashnikovs, which I think we call them in English, Kalashnikovs, and they just kept going. It was like bang, 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 bang.
So no break to reload, nothing like that?
Sorry?
No break to reload. They just kept consistently firing over and over.
They just kept firing. And they were downstairs. It was obvious that we were on the first floor in the balcony, which we call le balcon in French, and it was obvious they were underneath. And I said to my friend, "What the heck is that?" You know, sorry, excuse my language. It's like, "What the hell is that?" Sorry. And she was like, "I don't know." And we didn't take it seriously. But then all of a sudden, everybody started panicking, and that's when we realized that it was serious, and that those shooters were actually, you know, coming up to the first floor as well. And I don't know how. I mean, you know, the universe was in my favor. I don't know, but I managed to escape through a safety exit with a lot of other people without being harmed. And, you know, I crossed paths with people who were wounded. I saw a girl who had a bullet wound in her thigh. Somebody else was on the floor with blood everywhere. It was horrible.
You know, Ginny, there have been reports that the gunmen, the attackers, were shouting as they were inside that concert hall. I'm curious, did you hear them shouting anything along with all that gunfire? And we have not seen any images from inside the theater, nor, quite frankly, do we really want to. But can you tell us how many people you think they might have been able to get to before the SWAT teams rushed in?
I don't think anybody could have been filming at that particular time, because nobody wants to be filming that. The main energy, the main flow was to get the hell out of there. I didn't hear anything because I was, like I said, I was on the first floor, so I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear any religious things, nothing. No, I didn't hear anything like that. All I know is that people were firing Kalashnikovs and that we had to get out.
And was it pandemonium to get out? I mean, were people just, I mean, how was this?
Yeah, it was and it wasn't. It was like people were panicking, like a lot of people were crying and stuff, and it was a bit of a panic, but it wasn't like, you know, when people get trampled, it wasn't like that. Like I didn't feel trampled. I didn't feel squashed. All I know is that I made my way to the safety exit, which I saw, you know, when I was actually there. I noticed it, you know, because I always look where safety exits are because I'm kind of wary of crowds. And, you know, we were all going down the staircase to get out. And at one point, the people who were down towards the doors, they stopped them for a while saying, "No, they're there." And then they opened them again like a minute later. And everybody ran out. Everybody ran out in a panic. You know, we all ran out in different directions.
And Ginny, you know that several people were held hostage inside there for several hours. You know how lucky you are you got out.
I know, and the people who were held there as hostage were people I knew, because the person I was with was a friend, and she works within the music industry, and her friends are the people who work there. And so since escaping, we came back to her place, and we've had messages and emails and Facebook messages from people who were in, you know, trapped in the what do you call it in English? The I can't find the word in English. Like the place where you get changed, you know, as an artist.
Right, the dressing rooms.
Ginny Watson. Rooms, exactly.
Ginny, thank you so much for joining us. What a frightening ordeal you managed to survive.
Yeah.
Thank you for describing it, and obviously to our audience, we want to apologize for some of the colorful language she used. She was obviously in an extremely frightening situation tonight and was very honest in describing it.
It would be on a night like tonight, and we can understand why she's still up at 4 a.m. Paris time. Can't imagine anyone in that city sleeping right now. I want to bring in ABC's Louise Duwas, to producer on the streets of Paris tonight. She's not far from the theater. And Louise, you and I were talking earlier. You said you heard what sounded like mini explosions as the SWAT teams raced into that theater, and clearly intelligence officials telling us that the SWAT teams knew they had to get in there.
That's correct. I heard about 12 loud bangs, and shortly after, ambulances rushing towards the theater. I was able to follow some of them, and I could see firefighters evacuating people from the second floor, taking them to this makeshift hospital in a cafe nearby. And I saw people coming out looking terrified, with blood all over their T-shirts, many of them on the phone, probably calling relatives, and really a sense of tragedy here on the streets of Paris tonight.
And Louise, we can see the police presence as you spin your camera around there. You've been held back quite a ways earlier in the evening. Have they allowed you to get any closer? And have you had any information from authorities there about what remains inside that concert hall? Obviously authorities fearing this death toll could go much higher. Do we know anything about the people who were targeted inside?
Well, following the terrorist attacks on the Charlie Hebdo magazine in January, police here are extremely careful, and so they've closed the whole neighborhood, and journalists, citizens, no one is allowed to get any closer to the theater. So no information at this stage on what is happening exactly right now. We did see, however, some buses early on taking all the people that have been evacuated to a nearby hospital to be taken care of over there. But definitely a lot of security on the streets of Paris tonight.
All right, ABC's Louise Dubois.